jump right in today and talk about time management and productivity. As a lawyer, I own a law firm, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and so there's so much going on all the time that sometimes it's just like you don't have a good handle on your schedule. So let's dive into that today. And so, because what I know that's true for me is that I would always be reacting to things that were happening around me and all the fires that always needed to be put out. It never ended. But I found that if I could start being more proactive, making a plan, honoring the plan that I've made for myself, and being more intentional with my time, it would help me to reduce the chaos and put me back in the driver's seat of my own time, of my own schedule, instead of being the passenger. Like, you don't want to be the passenger and have someone else or something else, or, whether it's your clients or your family or your staff or whatever's going on at work, driving and determining what your time is going to look like, what your schedule is going to look like. You should be in the driver's seat of that for yourself. So that's what my focus has been. That's what I'm hoping for you. And that's what we're talking about today. So I want to be able, and I want for you to be able to focus, to be committed, and to plan and really be intentional with your time, because that's had a huge impact, not just on my work life, but also I would say my personal life as well. And it definitely feels like it's been a weight that's been lifted to not always feel like you're always reacting, always putting out fires. That is exhausting. It is so exhausting versus if you have, your calendar and a schedule, and you know what you're doing and when you're doing it, and you have created that plan for yourself, and you're honoring your own plan, and those around you are honoring the plan that you have made. It's not such of a burden. You're not living so reactionary to everything that's happening in work and personal life. And so I tie this to productivity. And in my law practice, this is really how and why I've transitioned my practice to a flat fee practice. And so for a lot of lawyers, they bill their time hourly, and you're billing down to 0.1 hours, which is every 6 minutes you are billing. Whereas I have transitioned to more of a flat fee. So for, if you want me to prepare, ABC for you, it's going to cost you X number of dollars. Because for me, what I've come to realize is that it's not about how I work or how long I work. It's about what I produce for that client, that end result. Because clients aren't really going to care about how you get there, at least for most practice areas, at least in my experience. They just want the result. And so for me to be, really busy and to be stressed and overwhelmed does not help me to get more work done. Working 8 or 10 hours or more, a lot of attorneys I know work more than that per day, isn't what's important. It's about what you've actually accomplished. What have you finished? What have you completed? What have you created? And if you're spending a bunch of time just stressing about the time and trying to figure out what to do next and the order in which you should do it, you probably weren't very productive that day. You probably didn't get a lot done. You didn't get much accomplished. Yeah, you spent a lot of time in that day worrying and stressing and trying to figure out what the plan is going to be, but what did you actually create that day? And for a lot of lawyers that I know, a common thing that we do is procrastinate, and we wait until right before something's due to work on it and to get it done. And that just creates more chaos and more stress for yourself. And I can just recall, many times in situations where I've been up against the wire for a deadline for whether it's a motion or a hearing or whatever it may be. And had I just started sooner and pre-planned and honored that plan and not waited until the last minute, it would have been much less stressful of a process for me, and probably taken a lot less time had I actually just done it in a pre-planned way versus waiting until the last minute. And let's keep in mind, I just want to say that the time it takes to get a task done is going to take as much time as you give yourself. So if you give yourself 30 days to get a motion drafted, it's probably going to take you 30 days to get it drafted, and you'll probably be working on the 30th day to get it drafted, right? That's just kind of how we've learned to operate and how to get things done, but it's not a very efficient use of our time. And so moving these things along sooner, pre-planning, and not spending so much time on the thinking about it and the worrying about it and the stressing about it, and just really getting in our own ways about getting the task done, rather than just getting even a first draft of it done. And when I say a first draft of getting something done, whatever it is that needs to be done, whether it's a letter, a motion, whatever the task may be, we're not focused on getting it done perfectly the first time. We don't need perfection at all, really. We're not looking for A+ work here. When we're trying to get something done, especially if it's going to be our first draft, at least get that off of our to-do list and make progress towards completion. Getting a solid B on that task is all that we need to do. So don't focus on it not being perfect, not getting everything right. Let's just try to get it done, at least the first draft of it done. And you can always tweak it and make revisions later, right? But we have to get started. I think that's the hardest part. And if you've ever been, if you're like me, where I delayed getting something done, delayed, and then when I finally start to do it and start, drafting a document or whatever it may be, you kind of find yourself kind of in a groove, in the mode of just getting that task done. And it creates momentum to actually get you to completion. So the hardest part, what takes the longest so many times, can just be taking that first step to actually just get started and get moving forward. And I think a huge mental shift happens when you stop thinking about things in terms of your time or your effort, and instead start focusing on what's actually being produced, what's being created. Because if you're putting a lot of effort and energy into the busyness, being busy with working, you're not producing very much. It's very exhausting. It wears you down and makes you tired. It is so exhausting always trying to figure things out. But when you approach your day and approach your task as producing content, producing results, producing something tangible, that's going to help motivate you and perpetuate this momentum that you need to keep moving forward. And so when you're putting things on your to-do list, make sure you're putting tasks on your list that produce something, that create something, that where you can see and actually look at that task and see what you actually got done. You want to have a result when you're done, not just focusing on time. So not just, oh, I want to spend 2 hours today drafting this motion. No, the task should be, I'm going to complete the first draft of this motion. And I think actually having that tangible result of completing that first draft versus just spending 2 hours doing something, I think it just mentally helps you to feel like you've achieved something, because you've gotten the first draft done. You have that tangible product, whatever the task may be. And maybe it's not writing something, maybe it's something you need to otherwise do, or phone calls to make, or whatever it is that's on your to-do list. Make sure it's something tangible and not just focused on the time spent, because in my practice that I have found is getting away from the time spent in all aspects of my work versus the product that's the result, the item that I've created. It just helps me mentally to be able to, I think, get more things done and get them done a lot sooner, because again, you're going to take as much time to get it done as you give yourself that time. So let's talk about some action steps. We've kind of talked kind of big picture. So what are some action steps that you can take to be more productive, whether it's at home or at work or wherever you feel like you need more productivity? First, you gotta make a plan before you take any kind of action. You need a roadmap of where you're going. Getting started right away doesn't really do you a lot of good if you don't have a plan. And making a plan that you don't honor isn't useful either. It has to be mandatory. It has to be something that you absolutely have to get done. It's a non-negotiable. And a lot of us, and myself included, in the past, haven't been very good about following through and honoring our own plans that we've made for ourselves. Now, I don't always get it right. I'm not always, 100%. But I've become more aware of this, and I certainly strive to honor the commitments that I make to myself. So whether it's with work, whether it's my personal life, whether it's my, I shared with you my recent weight loss journey, losing about 45 pounds in these past 2 years. But all these things have all required that I started somewhere, and I started making commitments to myself, and I started honoring those commitments that I made to myself. I was no longer going to put myself on the back burner. My to-do list was no longer going to be on the back burner. And you should not be on your own back burner. You should not be the last priority in your own life. And so when making the plan, the reason why it's so important, because the one thing that I know for sure for myself, whatever it is, whatever I make a plan, let's say it's for tomorrow, whether I'm planning what I'm going to eat or the tasks I'm going to get done, when tomorrow comes around, I'm not going to want to do those things that are on the list that I created today, right? But I've made the commitment today to myself that I'm going to do these things tomorrow. Again, so for you, whatever it may be, whatever you know that you need to get done to move you in the direction that you want to go, again, work, personal, if you're on a weight loss journey, if you want to open your own law firm, whatever it is, you're going to create the task of what you need to create tomorrow, next week, next month. And when that time comes, you won't want to do it. I know I don't usually want to do it, but you've made that commitment to yourself. So you're going to stick to it and do it anyways, okay? When you make your plan, so that's step 1, is making the plan. Step 2, when you make the plan, we're going to have a time frame to get that thing done. But again, the task is not spend 2 hours doing this. The task is going to be, I'm going to create this first draft of this, but I'm going to give myself X amount of time to get it done. And again, we're not looking for perfectionism here. Now, being a perfectionist, so many of us, claim to be a perfectionist, strive to be perfectionists. That's just wasting time. Trying to be perfect delays your completion. You're not going to be a very high producer if you're delaying production of any of your tasks because you're trying to be perfect. We're going to have to try to let that go. Getting something done is far better than you stalling and not doing it because you're trying to get it done perfectly. So give yourself a time limit and release the inclination to want to have it done perfectly, because we don't want to not do it at all because we're trying to get it done perfectly, because then nothing happens, right? There's no result generated. So let's get that first draft done. Let's go for our B+ work and get that first draft done of whatever it may be. Now, we've also got to do some cleanup internally, right? Sometimes when we have tasks to do, results to produce, we can get in our own way. It usually is us getting in our own way. Our brain tells us to procrastinate and all the reasons why something won't work and why we shouldn't do it and all these creative ways to avoid getting something done. Because I can tell you, we're at my home office today. If I have tasks to do, I always have laundry calling my name. I always have dishes calling my name. I always need to vacuum and to mop and to do all the things, because that is my brain trying to take me away from the task that I have on hand that I've already decided that I'm going to do by telling me all these other things that I should do instead. But no, we made a plan. We're committed to it. We're committed to ourselves. Being committed to your own plan is really being committed to yourself and what you've agreed to do for yourself. And so by pre-creating this plan, you've already written it out. So you've already made that commitment. And so when that next day comes for you to do that activity or that task or whatever needs to be done on your checklist, just know that you're honoring the commitment to yourself. Because without that plan, you're more likely to succumb to avoiding doing it. So those are kind of my thoughts, my tips, and kind of the journey that I've been on with my time management and procrastination. And that's what I share with my clients when I'm helping them with coaching, whether they need help personally or with work. A lot of my clients are, lawyers who are moms who want to open their own law firms and trying to juggle all the things and figure out how to get it all done. And so this is just a suggestion that I share with them as far as how to handle time management, how to handle procrastination. So if you need help, if you maybe think that coaching might be able to be a good resource for you in helping you, with work, with personal life, and with time management, and if you're a procrastinator and you want to get better at that, please feel free to reach out. I'll put the link below for my website, for dalcoaching.com. I'd be happy to help you, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, have a good one.